Good morning, everyone. Welcome to People's Notes. My name is Michael Kirkchin, and today is Saturday, May the 7th, 2022. And thank you for coming to my channel. What I'll be looking at today with you is a couple of things on the macro end, what we're seeing as far as the macro is concerned, as far as the stock market and really the bond market and everything. It looks like things are a little shaky out there. Obviously, that's having a direct impact on our cryptocurrency space as well, because of the fact that really Bitcoin has kind of been linked with the Nasdaq, so it's considered a risk on asset. And as these major investors are selling their shares of risk on assets, Bitcoin is being also cataloged into that same category. It shouldn't be. They're complete opposites. They should not be seen as the same. When Bitcoin is a limited supply, and of course the stock market stocks are unlimited supply. I mean, there's new companies and new shares made every single day, every single year. Yet what we have with Bitcoin is a limited supply. But for the time being, it's not the way the world is seeing it. Before I get started with the charts, please, this is not financial advice. Everything I'm sharing with you here is my personal information that I use for myself, for my personal trading. Do your own analysis, and of course, do your own research with your own advisors. So let's get started with the charts. So one of the most important things I find to look at right away at this stage is to look at really the US 10-year treasuries. And what I did today was I charted also the rate of change. So basically, what we've seen here, and on TradingView, we have this going back to 1980. And if you look at the rate of change since 1980, we haven't seen anything compared to what we're seeing right now. So basically, if you look at really this period over here, which was starting in 2021, so really in the last, I guess if we're going to time this, let's say the last year and a half, the rate of change that we're seeing with the 10-year treasuries in the US spiking is unbelievable. So basically, it's basically spiked over here from around March 2021 by around 65%, it looks like. And over here, it's around 73%. So basically, if we're looking at the charts, there's never been anything at that rate. So what does that do? So what that does, obviously, is that might break something. If things change so fast, all of a sudden, especially when the US treasuries go up, there's direct link with that, with the investors and the stock market, that the growth stocks will not do great, and that the growth stocks may be time to sell them to go into value and so forth. So does that make sense? If you look at the actual charts, yes, it does. If you look at what's going on with the Nasdaq, for example, Nasdaq right now at this stage, it's also very bearish, and as coincidentally, if you look at it, see when this thing started going, if you look at the 10-year treasuries, they started really spiking sometime around here. You started going from December 2021 upwards, and now they've gone up really parabolically in that short time period. If I go to the Nasdaq, what is done since December 2020, well, in December 2020, Nasdaq was almost at all-time highs. Right over here, we are at November 19th, it was at all-time highs. And then here we were at December 28th, right around Christmas time, after Christmas time, and it was at 15,838 points then. And since then, it's done this really drop, and we're right now making new drops. And if you look at the trend lines, I wouldn't be surprised if Nasdaq drops even more, just because it looks like the momentum is in its favor to drop, and the interest rates being high is not helping the stock market's mindset and so forth. Especially, we're seeing also a lot of big companies missing earnings and so forth. So that's why this is obviously a pretty bearish time period. It doesn't mean if I'm going to bring this now to look at what's going on with the cryptocurrency space, the total cryptocurrency space right now, the chart looks like as if it's kind of building up. It's the way I'm seeing it, obviously, this isn't financial advice, but the way I'm seeing it is that it's kind of getting ready for an eventual pump upwards, not downwards, upwards. We just don't know when, because the trend line to me, it looks like it's the total cryptocurrency space. It does look a positive, but we have no idea how long this will take. We have no idea how long this will take. It may go like this forever. It may take, I mean, I don't want to say forever, but it may go like this for a long time. Eventually, it looks like what it's going to do is that eventually it's probably going to be doing a move upwards. But of course, we just don't know how long it's going to take. Last over here. There's a very good saying by John Maynard Keynes, where he says, the famous economist who says that the market can stay irrational a lot longer than we can stay. The correct word is the market can stay irrational a lot longer than we can stay solvent. So, and that's very, very true. So obviously, if market is going to stay irrational for a very long time, then the investors may not stay solvent. So what I want to do is, like, I want to look at right now the dominance charts as well, and to show you kind of like how this thing what we saw, where the cryptocurrency space is kind of staying in this zone between these triangles. Really, it's kind of been in this. It went parabolic and then it tried going down, but it's hitting these trend lines. And if I look at that and compare to what we're seeing with the Ethereum dominance, so you see the Ethereum dominance, it looks like also that it's kind of hovering in the same zone really for the last year. So obviously it's a major percentage change, 16% to 22%. This is a massive change for dominance for the entire cryptocurrency space, but we're not seeing the kind of, let's say, parabolic drops or parabolic rises or this kind of behavior, which was basically a massive drop. And here also was a very major up. So over here, the way we saw with the Ethereum dominance, really, if you look at this time period as well, which was a very long period, which was from September 2018 until something in the range of December 2020. So really, for over 2 years, the Ethereum dominance also over here, it stayed between 8. It looks like the real numbers were between 7.25 and something in the range of around 12%. And right now, it's kind of behaving the same way as well. So basically, what we're seeing here is that we're seeing this dominance of Ethereum stay really put, stay in this zone. And it's almost like as if it's trying to figure out where Ethereum stands with all the different projects and so forth. Now, this may go a lot longer, but what's going to happen eventually? Eventually, we know what's going to happen with Ethereum and all that's going on with Ethereum and ETH 2.0 coming and so forth, is that eventually it's going to do this again, the same way as it had done over here. Now, of course, if Ethereum is doing that, what does that mean with Bitcoin? Does that mean that Bitcoin's pricing is going to go down? Because all of a sudden, Ethereum is going to take a bigger chunk of the dominance of the entire space. Well, Bitcoin obviously may go up as well at the same time, but Ethereum would be going up at a higher rate of change than, let's say, Bitcoin would. Because if you look at what's going on with the Bitcoin dominance, and I will bring it on the screen right away. I want to see, yeah, it's over here. So let's put this, let's not confuse me with all these different screens. I will go to the Bitcoin dominance right over here. And if we look at where the Bitcoin dominance is at right here, we see that it's also kind of, so right here. So a bit similar to what Ethereum is doing as well. So it is kind of in the zone where we're seeing it go, kind of stay in the zone of between 40% and 48%. So this is really interesting things. And as we read all this news about what's out there with all these guys who want to see, guys like Peter Schiff who would want to see Bitcoin to go down to zero, or others like the Bitcoin fans like Bitcoin Crypto and those guys, or the Moon would want to see Bitcoin go up to 100% overnight. I mean, the reality is that if we look at what's going on in the space right now is behaving really, really well, because compared to what we were seeing with the actual stock market, really, if we look at what the stock market is doing, the stock market is really having issues. I mean, serious issues. This is the S&P 500, and we see like what a negative chart this is. Really, again, coincidentally, starting also in December, the S&P had all-time highs, and since then it's lost almost 20%, really, which is really very bearish. This is really a massive drop. And if you look at what is done with the daily chart. The S&P is below its 200-point moving average, really, since it's done it twice. It did it once right over here, I just want to make sure the colors are right so that we don't say wrong things. Let's put a color that we're gonna be able to really be able to easily decipher. Okay, red sounds good. So if you look at this red line, which is the 200-point moving average, the 200-day moving average, we see that the S&P has been below it over here once in February of this year. Then it corrected and had a retracement and went back up, and now it's back down again since April 11th. So obviously, when it's below the 200-day moving average, it's a very bearish signal because a lot of technical analysts see this as a negative trend. So if you look at that, the S&P is very negative with what it's doing with its current patterns, its current behavior, and we see as well that it's right now hitting these trend lines, meaning that if it drops to the next level, which it might very soon, we may see it go down to this level of around 3,900 points. So that would be an additional something in the range of a 5-6% drop compared to where it's at right now, which obviously would be really major, massive with all the investors that are investing in the space. And if we do look at the Nasdaq chart, which we saw already earlier, Nasdaq, we saw that it is also very similar, and there's a very high probability really that Nasdaq will drop, because we see here, if we zoom in to where it's doing with the daily chart, it's hitting really new lows, right? So what it means is that if it's hitting new lows, if I put this weekly, we're going to see that this is a very bearish chart. Okay, so, and if we look at where it may go next, there's a high probability that Nasdaq would go down to this line over here, which would mean that it's going to be it's going to be hitting ranges of points wise, something in the range of around an additional, at least another, right now it's around 12,144 points. If it's going to drop another 200-300 points, that's going to be another, I mean, it's not going to be, it could go down another 5% potentially. Obviously, if it goes worse, if it's going to go down lower levels, then it could go down another 10-15%, right? So what we need to see is we need to see a bounce back of Nasdaq. We need to see it do something like it's done in the past, where basically it's going down like the way it was over here. Let's look at these two time periods where so Nasdaq basically, let's say if you look at what it did in 2018, it went down to something in the range of the 200-week moving average. And let's put this daily so that we're talking more daily. So if you look at what it did back in 2018, the Nasdaq went down to this over here. It was the let's zoom in a bit so we can see better. So so right over here in 2018, it went down way below this 200-day moving average. Then finally it had a bounce back and it started going back up again. And then afterwards it went parabolic. And then right over here, it crashed again, obviously, with what we had with COVID, with the pandemic 2020, and then with all the stimulus packages and so forth that they did it in the United States, it went back up again. And now with the rates started dropping in 2021, in December, when the rates started going up in 2021, we saw Nasdaq again have this negative trend. So basically, if we look at all this, and if we compare it again, really, to what we're doing with the Bitcoin cryptocurrency space, the cryptocurrency space is really behaving very, very well, and we should be really happy with that. If I look at, in particular, to Bitcoin right now, so Bitcoin right now, it will be going, it looks like, a bit lower, because right now, we know already that Bitcoin is below its 20-week SMA and its 20-week SMA and its 21-week EMA. So that's already below those two indicators, moving averages. And right now, if we look at what it's doing with the trend lines, so it looks like it's getting ready to go down a bit. So it's on the weekly chart, it's already gone down something in the range of $35,000 US. Now, if you look at what could be the next drop could be potentially all the way down to $31,000. So not meaning that if you're investing in the space, as long as your horizons are long-term, that's okay. But if you're going to be looking at short-term, don't be discouraged if you see Bitcoin drop a bit more, because these indicators are telling us that there's a high probability that things will drop a little more. especially if you look at its coefficient of correlation with Nasdaq. Right now, it's around 80%. So meaning that Bitcoin and Nasdaq are kind of the coefficient of both of them going in the same direction is right now at something at 0.8. The highest would have been at 1. And since we're looking at Nasdaq, and we know Nasdaq is really having a very tough time, as we saw in the chart earlier. So that's why seeing that Nasdaq chart being very negative, seeing this Bitcoin chart doing its thing also with the fact that it's hitting these new lows compared to where it was at a little while back, and also seeing what we've done with the U.S. treasuries that are still having these highs, then there's a very high probability that we will see Bitcoin go a bit lower. And don't get discouraged. And obviously, if you are investing in the space, make sure that you are going to be basically investing in the space with the intention of the long term, without getting discouraged what happens over the short term. So before you hang up, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Any comments, any feedback, any questions, please don't forget to write them at the bottom. Thank you so much for watching, and looking forward to the next video with everyone. Bye-bye.